Today's episode, we are going to look at cognitive load and the impact that has on our learners. To do that, I'm joined by Thomas Crawford, who is a freelance adult learning expert with close to 20 years in the training and development industry. Prior to becoming a freelancer, Tom was the director of training in QA for Tinder's member experience team, where he was responsible for the training, knowledge management, and quality for their support team. Before that, Thomas worked for Amazon for 15 years. He started as a customer service associate and fell in love with training. Similar to what happened to me, that I accidentally fell in love with training, and here we both are. Eventually, he became the global training delivery manager for their digital device and Alexa support organizations. Thomas was responsible for all associate training for Amazon's technical support staff across all geographies. In addition to freelancing, as a lead learning experience engineer, Thomas also brings his passion to the music industry, where he consults musicians and artist development and management. I've had the opportunity to work with Thomas on a variety of projects over the past couple of years. His insight and knowledge in the L&D field will be a great asset for you all as we have this conversation about cognitive load. So I'm excited to talk today about how do we avoid learner burnout and fatigue. So Thomas, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention, which I should mention, is Thomas is one of our lead learning experience engineers at Legacy Learning Consulting. So more than just out into the world, he also is on our team and supports the actual work that we do. So Thomas and I have had many, many conversations about learning principles and philosophies. We agree, and mostly in some we disagree. So I think this will be a pretty robust conversation. So one of the things that we have talked about is that learning is a natural process, that people just naturally learn from birth till death. We're constantly learning if left alone. And if we are left alone to learn, people just learn. So why do you think, Thomas, that learning gives some people anxiety or has a bad name?
So for me, I mean, and some of this is even my own personal experience, is the insecurities as an individual. So like when they're going to learn something new, they always know that, hey, they try to be their best in everything that they do, and they see this thing that they don't know, and there's a little bit of insecurity. And then also, I would say past experiences with other trainings that may or may not have been positive, and in turn, they have at the end of training, they have a strong expectation for performance, but they're really concerned about how they're trained and the training that they go through. Is it going to be boring? Is it going to be too much? Are they even, some of it is imposter syndrome. Like I myself, I went, I would say about 6 or 7 years ago, I went to go get a formal certification in instructional design. I'd been working in instructional design for more than 10 years at that time, but I never had any formal college experience or anything like that. And I went and took this course, flew out, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be good at this, or I hope I get the certification. I hope I don't mess it up. And when I got there, the learning experience was just so great, and I crushed it in the end. But I think a lot of it is their own insecurities and imposter syndrome. And then again, the expectation of performance after completing that, and is this experience going to be enough for them?
Yeah. I think that piece of insecurities, a lot of times, and I'll speak for myself, that I always say this, that I was taught I was stupid growing up in school, right? Because I don't operate well within the school system. And I've created a company anti that, right? Where we talk about learning is about doing, not about getting information and regurgitating it. So I was really bad at regurgitating information. So, I was a C student, and I have that rule with my children, is just don't fail anything, get through the system. And they figured out the system, and they're doing really well in school. But for me, I was constantly taught that I wasn't smart. And so for me to even go to college, I was like, I don't know. Right. So I actually think in a lot of ways, you said it as the second reason is previous experiences. I think a lot of times learning has a bad name because of those previous experiences. And I think the insecurities you're talking about actually come from that too, right? Can you imagine a world where we're brought up through school and we're taught that we're smart? Like, whether it's true or not, just totally said, yeah, you're good, you got this. That's a whole different paradigm to learning. Now, I'm not advocating that we tell people they're doing awesome if they aren't. But the point I'm making is we're taught that learning is hard. We're taught that learning is stressful. We're taught that it's not fun. Last point I'll make on this, because I could go for days since I started talking about the school system, but that's not the topic today, is, you think about what you're allowed to do in the classroom in school. It's all not fun. Stop having fun. Don't talk to your friend. Put that phone away. It's literally anything that you try, or being a goofball with the content, even like you're just told to just sit there and take the information. So we steal the fun from learning, which is one of the things that frustrates me as we talk to people that from a paradigm, they just see it that way.
At Legacy Learning Consulting, we are radicals about using your organizational learning strategy to transform and grow your business. We focus on outcome-based strategies tailored to achieve your business goals. To get results, learners need to shift behaviors. Using learning research and our years of experience, we create and implement learning experiences that shift behaviors toward your organizational goals. Since your business is unique, your learning strategy should match your company's unique DNA. We get under the hood to understand your business needs and your learners, and then develop learning solutions that target your unique needs. We focus on creating tailored learning experiences that don't just teach, they shift behaviors and create measurable impact. Through immersive scenarios and interactive experiences, we bridge the gap between knowledge and action. Our solutions help learners apply what they've learned in practical ways that drive change where it matters most, on the job. With Legacy Learning Consulting, learning isn't just a box to check. It's a strategic investment in lasting behavioral change that directly impacts your organization's success. Ready to make the most out of your learning investment and get real, measurable results? Contact Legacy Learning Consulting today, and let's design a solution that transforms behaviors and drives success.
I guess to kind of add on to that. So, I was one of those when I was younger. I didn't feel I was the smartest, but I kind of figured out the system, figured out like what they're looking for and stuff like that. And one of the things I personally found really awkward was studying, the whole concept of studying. Like, I never studied, I never. And I saw my friends that they're like, no, I got to study for this big exam and blah, blah, blah. Why? Like, if the learning was done correctly, there shouldn't be a study. Like, you should know, you should be doing it. And that was like, I could never. And also like, I was a B to A minus student going through
one of those.
I never studied for a test. And I always did really well. But
it's funny you say that. So I say that similar thing about homework. I would always like that person in the back of the room doing the homework just so I could check the box. I never understood why. I never really did my homework. But yeah, I agree with you. I've never studied, and you shouldn't have to study if that format actually worked. Unfortunately, that format doesn't. But one of the things that contributes to that is that we often will give the learner so much information and overwhelm them through learner cognitive load. So we've mentioned that word a few times. Can you talk about what cognitive load is and why learning engineers should care about it and be thoughtful about it as we're creating stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So cognitive load as a whole is the effort that it takes to process information and learning. There's three main types. There's intrinsic cognitive load. It is the actual effort that it takes to learn something new. There's germane cognitive load, which is the load that it takes for the brain to store the information, like not just learning it, but storing it in a place for, later use. And then the last one isn't extraneous cognitive load. This is everything else in the environment that their brain is processing on top of the learning. And a lot of it, so, and I know you and I have had kind of conversations about like where people like they feel that training has to, like, not saying it can't be fun, but it has to be entertaining, or there has to be jokes, or there has to be, flashy animations and graphics and all of that stuff. But in the end, it's actually not. It's doing the exact opposite of what they think that it is. So that's, I mean, in essence, that's what cognitive load is. And I think that from a learning perspective, we should be more focused on the intrinsic and the germane and making sure that those are doing effectively, and then be really thoughtful about the media and the presentation and the environment that the learning is happening in that could be blocking or, blocking the learning from happening and ultimately what you're wanting to get done.
Thank you for joining us. Join us next time for part 2 of this topic. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more ways to make your organization strong through your learning function.